The prosecution is wrapping up their case against two police officers charged in the death of Elijah McClain. Their final witness will be questioned tomorrow, after which the case shifts to the defense. Let's bring in investigative reporter Kevin Vaughn. You've been in court every single day of this trial. It's been 2 weeks. First of all, just thank you. This is a case that really resonates in the community. A lot of people are invested in what this means for policing in Aurora, in our most diverse city, moving forward. So thank you for being there. And also kind of fill us in. Where do we stand right now?
So today was day 12, the 8th day of testimony. There have been 23 witnesses, and by my count, the jury has heard about somewhere close to 50 hours of testimony so far.
Wow. And as Alex mentioned, being there really gives you a different insight being present in this courtroom. But we want to talk a little bit about the jury, but remind people about the officers and the charges they're facing.
So they're charged with reckless manslaughter and second-degree assault. Both of those charges are probation eligible.
Okay.
They also both could carry prison, up to 16 years in prison. So if they were to be convicted of both charges, the range could be from probation to 16 years in prison. So that's what they're facing.
Significant.
Yep, big decision in the hands of the jury, and they've heard from so many witnesses thus far, but it's been really interesting, especially we kind of did a deep dive yesterday, an important day in court with Dr. Sina, who was called by both sides, but really seemed to be a home run for the defense, not the prosecution. And you said that's kind of common. You've seen more witnesses kind of swing both ways.
Yes, I mean, the thing we've heard over and over again is that the ketamine was what killed Elijah McClain, and that was administered by two paramedics, not by these two police officers. But there have been a lot of witnesses that have offered something for both sides. I'm thinking of a doctor who testified at length last week from National Jewish Health. He talked about the fact that Elijah McClain suffered serious breathing problems as a result of the confrontation with the police, that he inhaled some of his own vomit, that his lungs were compromised because of that. And so that is good for the prosecution. He also said that without the ketamine, he might not have died, and that the ketamine was what killed him.
I think it's important to note, too, and you mentioned it in the first couple of days of trial, but this jury does not know that the paramedics are going to face their own trial, that Nathan Woodyard, the initial cop who responded, is going to face his own trial. They think that this squarely lies on these two officers. I think that's significant.
Yeah, you wonder all the time in a trial whether the jury picks up on what's going on in situations like that. There has been a lot of questions about, you testified in an earlier proceeding, and they'll talk about that. They don't tell the jury that it went to a grand jury. They don't tell the jury that the original DA declined to file charges in this case. So there's a lot of things the jury doesn't know, and that's some of that stuff we see in court that the jury doesn't see.
And that's what you see from that perspective. And also, I mean, this is a lot of medical things to make the average person try to understand. So part of the job on the lawyers is to make this very conversational, very easy to understand, and sell your point.
Yes, and the jurors all have notebooks. They can take notes. They can write things down. They can have those notes with them when they sit down to deliberate when that happens. So, but there's been a lot of testimony. Several witnesses have been on for more than 3/4 of a day, basically. So.
Yeah, and give us a little insight quickly before you go, things that we haven't necessarily been able to see. I know when I was in court, I saw a juror sleeping. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, sir. But what other little tidbits can you share?
So there was a moment late last week when the trial was pretty far behind the schedule they envisioned, and everything was taking a lot longer. And the judge, after the jury was out of the room, said to the lawyers, look, we're getting into La Brea tar pits category here. We've got to get this thing moving along. Today, when the defense announced that they thought they could wrap this up on Monday or Tuesday, the judge said, and I'm quoting now, the mammoth has escaped. In other words, he felt like they have gotten this trial out of the tar pits, and it looks like it could now finish up quicker than it was originally envisioned. It looks like it might be in the jury's hands by the end of the day Tuesday.
That's shocking. I thought we were going to go into a full another week.
The defense said there were a number of witnesses they had intended to call that they do not now expect to call.
Interesting.
Yes.
Thank you to both of you for covering this and giving us all that little, because it's detailed. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks so much.